Reggie Edwards from the Front Row Report. I am joined today by the one, the only, this man needs no introduction, Chris Jericho of Fozzy, man. Like I said before, I do appreciate you taking time. This is a very exciting time for me today to have you on the phone.
Not a problem, man. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Definitely, man. It's a big year for you, man. It's been a fun year. You know, you did the festival circuit so far this year in the U.S. and overseas. You know, you did, I believe you were at Download earlier. You did Carolina Rebellion, the big Rock on the Range here in the States. Talk a little bit about how exciting this year has been already. Plus the Buckcherry tour, you guys did a couple dates with them too.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you start working on a new record, it's always exciting. And we just came straight off the road, basically into writing. We finished up the Sin and Bones tour last year in Australia. We did a tour over there with Steel Panther and Buckcherry. And then we came back and started working on the new record and kind of focused on that. And then whenever, you know, you do the record, it takes a few months, and you want to get out there and start rolling right away. We get a lot of momentum after Sin and Bones, a lot of cool things happening, so you want to keep that rolling. You know, like David Lee Roth said, here today, gone later today. We don't want to be gone later today. We want to stick around for a bit. So the record was done basically mid-April, and then it took us straight into May to go out with Cherry and kind of combine that with all the Carolina Rebellions and, like you said, Rock on the Range and Welcome to Rockville. And then that took us right into Download. So now that we're back home, the record still hasn't even been released yet, but there's a lot of buzz of what's going on from all the stuff that we had going on Sin and Bones and then straight into the touring we just finished with. And, of course, Lights Go Out came out in April. So that's moving up the charts and radio. So there's a lot of really cool things happening right now. So you're right, it has been a good year so far, and it's just beginning.
Exactly. Rock on the Range alone it's by far one of the biggest festivals, if not the biggest we have here in the States. And that was a fun festival. You guys played next to last on the side stage right before Exodus, which had to have been just, I don't even know if surreal is a word that can describe that, but to play right before Exodus, Kerry King was on the side of the stage watching you guys play. Just describe that feeling being at that festival specifically. It's bigger than all of the other ones here.
Yeah. Well, it's cool, first of all, that a lot of promoters in the States are starting to pick up what's going on overseas. I mean, overseas in the summertime, it's always what we call festival season. So you can go over there and play. There's a festival every weekend somewhere. I mean, there's the big cornerstones like Hellfest in Wacken, Hellfest in France, Wacken in Germany, Download in the UK, Sonister in the UK, Glastonbury, Leeds, Reading. I mean, there's so many big ones over there. So you can go basically make your whole year just by playing the festivals. And the reason why bands go over there, because there's really not much going on in the States like that. Now it's starting to change with Rock and Rebellion and all the other shows that Danny Wimmer's putting on. And plus a lot of radio festivals in the summertime too. So it's becoming almost like a festival season over here in this country as well, which is great. I mean, because festivals are so cool. It's a great way to play to huge crowds. Some of them know your band, and some of them don't. Some of them might never check out your band if you weren't playing at the festival. And that's how you make new fans. And, you know, you get a real good combination of the converted and then, you know, all the new people that come to see you and hear you for the first time and walk away as fans. So, yeah, and like I said, anytime you get Kerry King down on the side of the stage to watch, you know it's going to be a fun show. Right. And Kerry, he digs Fozzy. He came and saw us a couple times in Australia on Soundwave a few years ago when we played. For whatever reason, he just likes the vibe of the band, because what we do that not a lot of bands do is we have a good time on stage. You know, it really is kind of a, you know, Van Halen in 1979 type of a feel. And that doesn't mean the music we're playing is that style, but just the guys on stage, everyone's having a good time. We want people to have fun. We expect it and we demand it. So when you come to the Fozzy show, you are a part of the show. And something like I said, that we take great pride on that fact. And it's really cool to see the word spreading and growing with every show that we do and with every record that we put out.
Yeah, and you mentioned festivals are really picking up here, and it's not just in the summer, it's kind of going into the beginning of the fall now, too, with Uproar kicking off in late August, going into early September, which you guys played 2 years ago, and you guys hit here in Indianapolis. Yeah. You guys hit here in Indianapolis, which you mentioned in your book was one of the wildest dates of that tour that you guys were on, and festivals are just, festivals are fun over here, and it is cool to see promoters picking up on that over here. We're still got a lot of work to do to get anywhere near the European and overseas level, but it's on its way, I think. It's a fun atmosphere.
Well, yeah, exactly. The thing that's cool is that people show up early in the day and they stay all day to watch as many bands as they can, and that's kind of the idea. And I mean, there's really nothing like uproar or mayhem in Europe as far as traveling festivals. What they have there are the really big weekend festivals. So it's cool to kind of see a combination of both happening now in the States.
And you guys got the new album coming out next month. You touched on it a little bit ago. Do You Want to Start a War? Which you guys had a lot of expectations from a lot of people to live up to Sin and Bones, which was, I think, your strongest release, the Century Media debut for you guys. And you guys, I mentioned it in my review that'll post today. In my mind, you guys not only surpassed those expectations, but you just obliterated them, as far as I'm concerned, with this record. From beginning to end, it's just a rock record, metal record that doesn't have much filler, not much slow-paced tracks on this one. It's just high speed from start to finish. What was it like recording this record and really coming off the heels of Sin and Bones to put this one together for you?
Well, I mean, Sin and Bones, like you said, it was a huge step forward for us, and it was the first record. I mean, Chasing the Grail, we started to get into that zone, but Sin and Bones was the first record where we really figured out directly and honed in on what Fozzy's sound is. You know, very heavy riffs, very melodic choruses, a lot of harmonies, and we kind of wanted to take that to the next level with Sin and Bones, to whereas continue in that vibe and in that zone, but also just not stick to whatever the rules are nowadays. I mean, when you listen to rock radio, you hear a lot of bands that sound similar. It's hard to tell which one is which. There's a lot of big bands that fall into that category, but we like bands. You know, obviously we love Maiden and Metallica, and we love Avenged Sevenfold and you know, Stone Sour and bands like that. But we also love Queen and Pink Floyd and U2 and Zeppelin and bands like that never really stayed to the same sound. They would always change their style, change their sound, but still be them. I mean, take Queen, for example. You listen to one of their records, and there'd be a metal song, a rockabilly song, and a 8-minute piano ballad, and then, you know, like a disco song. But they're all good. And there was really no rules when you were in Queen, or the Beatles, or bands like that. You know, even Guns N' Roses started to get into that zone, you know, with Use Your Illusion records. And we thought, you know, let's just not have any rules. Let's just do things, songs that we want to do. If they're good, we'll put them on the record. And not necessarily have to be, you know, metal or rock or whatever. Just kind of just make them Fozzy songs. And that's the mindset that we had. And that's why, you know, when Lights Go Out, when Rich came up with that tune, it was like, man, this is such a great tune. It's almost like, I don't know, Fall Out Boy and Black Sabbath had a bastard child. It would be Lights Go Out. And that's okay, because it's still heavy, it's dark, it's sexy, it's sleek, and it's a great tune. And it's really gone a long way for us already after a short period of time. So, you know, each record, what you want to do is you want to please your fans, but also make new ones. I mean, that's the goal of any band. And we think that's the way to do that, is kind of expand your horizons and realize that you don't have to play by any rules. This is rock and roll. There are no rules. And we really focused in on that. So that's why I think You Want to Start a War is a very diverse record. All the songs are very Fozzy, but there's some different sounding tunes on there, and that's okay, and we like that, and that's the way we wanted to do it.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's, you know, the title track that You Want to Start War, or Lights Go Out, or this, I had a chance to stream the record. The one that really sticks out to me is Unstoppable. That's different than all of the other tracks. And I can't find any information as far as it sounds like there's a female guest vocalist on that track.
Yeah, sure there is.
It sounds like Lizzie Hale, but I don't think it is. But who?
It's funny. We did that. You know, we wanted to do a song, kind of a reverse Gimme Shelter, where instead of having the female just appear in the chorus, she's there in the verse as well. And you know, it was an idea that Rich had, and I was totally into it and excited about it. And we did think about that. Should we call Lizzie Hale? Should we call Christina Scabbia? And it's like, we have a girl in Atlanta called Christy Cook that we've been working with for years to do background vocals. And we thought, why don't we just create our own star? You know, why do we have to go the route of getting, you know, the whoever's, whoever's the star of them. We like Christy. We think she's got an amazing voice. And once again, let's do what the Stones did. They didn't call, Diana Ross to be on Gimme Shelter. They just had a chick that they knew who was a great singer and kind of made their own star. And that's kind of what we wanted to do as well. So, yeah, she's a girl named Christy Cook from Atlanta, and she's been working with us for years and years and years in different capacities.
Awesome. She is so talented. She definitely gives that song a different kind of flavor. It's
great singer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that could be kind of one of the crowd favorites off of the track. I think it's so catchy. You can't help but love that song.
It's funny because once again, you're doing a song with a female soul singer all the way through. Definitely not the tried and true way of doing things when you're in a hard rock heavy metal band. But once again, we kind of experimented with that on the last record with the song "She's My Addiction," where we had a really prominent female singer involved. But this time, she takes center stage to the point when we were putting together the credits for the record, I said, we have to say, Unstoppable featuring Christy Cook. You can't not ignore her because it's not a background part, it's a lead vocal part. It's a tried and true duet all the way across the board. And I think, it's a super catchy song that people will really dig. But once again, not exactly the norm of what you expect to hear from a metal band or a rock band or whatever it is that we are at this point in time.
Exactly, and as far as Lights Go Out, it's when that single released back in, I think it was early to mid-May. I think a lot of fans thought that maybe that was the route you guys were going with this record. But that's the only song on the record that has that sound and feel to it. Was that more of like an experimentation? Let's see how this goes over with the fans and how it translates live, and maybe we can do something more like that in the future if it goes over well, or is it really just one of those? It wasn't any of those things. It's just one of those. That's how the song came out, and we really, really dug that. And no rules. Once again, there's really no experimentation with the fans, right? Because you got to make a record for yourself first and foremost. You have to make sure you're happy with it and that you're excited about it. Because if you're not, the fans won't be either. If you believe in something, that people will like it as well. And there's a couple other songs that kind of have a little bit of a vibe like that. And One Series Anarchist is a little bit that way. I mean, War in a way it is, but I mean, as far as going that far out, like I said, the Fall Out Boy, Black Sabbath thing, that's probably the only one that turned out that way. But it's not like it was by design, where it was, where we focused in on it, where we're like, it has to sound like this. That's just how the song came out. Rich wrote that with a dude called Johnny Andrews, who's he wrote some tunes with Hailstorm, wrote some tunes with All That Remains and King, and we just kind of got hooked up with them and said, put Rich and Johnny in a room and see what they come out with, and that was it. And we thought, man, this is really cool because it is something different. It's almost like we created a new genre, heavy metal dance club music when I first heard it. You could hear that at a strip club or you could hear it at a Slayer show, and it would fit. It's got that vibe for both. So, and when you put out a song like that, once again, it's a little bit different, and your hardcore fans that want to hear Blood Happens or Pray for Blood blast beats get a little bit, hey, what is this? But if you lose, 1,000 fans and gain 20,000, then that's kind of the goal, and those 1,000 that got mad at you will always come back, because a good song is a good song, and that's the bottom line. And it doesn't matter what style or genre it is. It's good and it's heavy. It's got Rich Ward playing guitar on it. It's got Chris Jericho on vocals, so it's going to be pretty. But like I said, when it came to Lights Go Out, it wasn't like we were. Let's put it out and see how it does. Like, this is our song. This is what we sound like on this record, on this song, and if you like it, great. If you don't, well, there's plenty of other good ones there for you to listen to. But so far, the response for the tune has been off the charts. Great. Yeah, it's been a great response, man. And shifting gears, man, you got the new book coming out in October 14th, The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea is the name of the book. It's a good 400-some page book, but it's a quick read. I had a chance to get an advanced copy and do a good review of that book. And for me, myself, who grew up a wrestling fan, still is, you touch on wrestling, you touch on Fozzy, you touch on everything in the book. It's a great continuation. But this is your third one. Has it gotten easier to write books as you go, or is it still kind of, takes a lot of time?
When they offered me the chance to do a third book, I was like, is this really necessary? 3 books by the time I'm 43 years old about my life, but then I realized I've had a pretty, interesting life. When I grew up as a kid wanting to be in a rock band and wanting to be a wrestler. I mean, those are two very interesting vocations, and the fact that I was able to do both of them, of course, there's going to be years and years of stories to tell. So when I started putting down the ideas for the book, there really wasn't much of an issue as finding material. I think I probably have 20 or 30 more stories that I could tell already since then. But the thing is, too, it's very time-consuming. You know, you do the interviews for it, you put it all down on paper, and then you got to start writing it. And I write everything that I've done in my books by myself, so it takes a lot of time. I remember being on tour last summer in Europe with Anthrax, and during the day I'm in a hotel room in Kufstein, Austria, you know, writing my book. And then when it's time to go to the show, you stop writing and go do your gig and come back to the hotel and write for another few hours. I remember doing that in a couple places. And for some reason in Austria, I guess Austria, there was nothing to do. So I just wrote a lot. But, you know, and it takes months and months and months. I started last August, and I believe I finished probably it was sometime in February. So August, September, October, November, December, January. So it's like basically 7 months. And that's a lot of writing because you got to rewrite it, redraft it, do it again, do it over, try it again. And you're constantly whittling away at it until it finally goes in there. And once it's done and you send in the final manuscript, I don't want to read it ever again because I've read it about 15 times. I know exactly what's coming next because that's what you have to do. You know, that's the work that needs to be done. And I don't use ghostwriters or anybody like that. Like I said, I write everything from you know, the intro to the outro to the, you know, the dust jacket to the captions of the pictures to everything in between. So it's my story, it's my voice, it's my life, and I'm not going to let anybody else write it. So it does take a lot of time, but once it's done, man, what an accomplishment. It's like doing a record, and the fact that, you know, I have a new record and a new book coming out in the same year, that's a pretty cool feeling.
Right, yeah. I mean, you got two forewords in the book. One was written by, you gave an opportunity to fans to write the foreword, and then, of all people, Zach Wilde writes one as well.
Yeah.
Which is one of the best forewords ever written.
Great. He's so crazy, man. Yeah, I had to edit that down a bit, but he capitalizes words that shouldn't be capitalized, and he's you know, he's a good friend of mine, and I'd actually written a foreword for him. His book, Bringing Metal to the Children, that came out a couple years ago. And I wanted to have, I mean, the first book, I think, was Jim Ross, the second was Mick Foley, and I thought, you know, as I get, you know, my life is quite diverse, so I thought, you know, I'd rather getting somebody else in the wrestling field to write it, I'll get someone in the music field, and Zach was the perfect guy for it, so he laid it down, and I just thought it would be cool to have a fan write a foreword. I don't think that had ever been done before, so I just had a contest on my Facebook page and had a bunch of people submit, and I had literally like hundreds, like I think it had to be like 745 submissions, which of course I can't read all of those, so I just picked like 20 out of those 700 or whatever, just randomly, and just read through them, and out of those 20 whittled it down to 5, and then whittled that down to 3, and then it was really hard to pick the winner, so I just kind of had to pick one. Wow. And that's how it kind of came together. I thought that'd be a really cool way to kind of give my fans, who have always been great, a chance to, you know, almost win a contest. It's almost a Tom Sawyer thing. They do the work, and then I say they won when they do the work, you know. So, but it was great to everybody. I mean, like I said, to have that many submissions was just unbelievable, and thanks to everybody who did do that.
Absolutely, man. You touch on so many, obviously in 400 pages, you have a lot to touch on, a lot that you don't get to touch on. But to me, the few things that really stand out to me are obviously when you talk about the feuds with CM Punk and HBK, but obviously when you talk about your first tribute to the troops trip over to the Middle East, which some of the things you talk about in that section, it's, you know, it was, for us over here, we think we know what you guys are doing over there, but to read it, some of the things are just, you know, leave you speechless just reading about it. And we're not the ones that experienced it. You did. It really puts it in a different perspective. And it was really interesting to read, you know, certain parts about that trip over there for you. It was really cool to read that. It had to have been... I don't even know if you could...
Yeah, for me too. Like I said, I didn't... you know, I described it by writing it. You know, that's basically the best way to kind of get all the memories onto the printed page. And then once it's there, you don't ever have to really, you know, sit back and think about, like, what happened. Now I kind of remembered everything that happened and documented it all. But I was really, really impressed with those experiences and didn't know what to expect at first. But it did end up being some of the best moments of my career and of my life, is to go over there and see how appreciative the soldiers were for us to be there, see how it works, see how everything goes down, and then to get a little taste of, I'm not going to say combat, but to be, you know, kind of stranded in an unsecured war zone for 6 or 7 hours with a little bit of uncertainty as to how you're getting out of there. it gives you a little bit too close for comfort feeling. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I've been to war now, and even more respect for the guys that have to go through that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we always really grasp exactly what that means for them to be over there, but now you know, and it's like, wow. Even if it's not an area that there's so many areas you don't even realize are over there that we've got people at. And,
no, absolutely.
But now that you've written,
like I said, it was a great experience.
Yeah, now that you've written,
what?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was going to say, now that you've written 3 books, like you said, you have like 20, 30 more stories. Has a 4th book even crossed your mind, or is that like something that's like, I don't even know if I want to go there at this point? 3 books.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if things keep going the way that they have been going, there'll definitely be a wealth of material in 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's not something I'd want to start on today.
Right.
But I think my first book came out in 2007 in the fall. Next one came out early 2011. This one will come out kind of, so 3.5 years it seems between. So I could see sometime in 2017 releasing another book. Like I said, why not? I mean, if nothing else, I have an amazing Keith Richards story that needs to go in there with a picture to match it. So that's enough right there to get another book deal as far as I'm concerned. But, it all depends on how they do. The last 2 were New York Times bestsellers. If this one continues in that trend and is very successful, and people aren't sick of reading about me, even though it's a completely different group of stories, I think that there's definitely more than enough desire and more than enough experiences to do a 4th book. And why not? I mean, if Chelsea Lately can do 8 or 9 books, why can't Chris Jericho?
Right. I mean, and
Chelsea Handler, sorry.
Chelsea Handler, Chelsea Lately, TV show.
Same thing, right? Yeah.
Any chance? I mean, and you were just on Deal. You went back on to Deal with It again. It aired a couple weeks ago. I'm sure it was filmed way before that. Any more? Maybe some chance we could see on TV anytime soon. I know you talk about Downfall in your book, Dancing with the Stars. I mean, anything else on the horizon maybe hasn't been announced?
Yeah, I mean, there's always cool stuff that comes up. That's one thing about me is there's always interesting thoughts and ideas that are pitched to me to do certain things and to come up with certain things, and I'm always into it and interested. And it's just a matter of if my schedule works out, if it's a project that I like. There's so many things that I get offered to me that I turn down on a daily basis. So I just not interested in it. I don't really feel like it's something I'd want to do. But when something comes up that's interesting, and then I'm more than available and interested in doing it, that's for sure.
Right. I would love to see like maybe a DVD set of the But I'm Chris Jericho web series that you do. Have that released on like DVD or something.
Yeah, I think that's actually going. Yeah, I believe that's actually going to iTunes pretty soon. I know that was very successful. We just won a bunch of awards at the Los Angeles Web Festival, which enabled us to go over to the Cannes Film Festival. I know we won some Canadian comedy awards. So I do believe that's coming out on iTunes very quickly, which is this day and age better than DVD in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that web series is just genius. It's so well done. It's hilarious. You're very funny.
Thanks, man.
I love it. And of course, anybody who's familiar with your promos and segments on wrestling knows that you have a great sense of humor. Even displayed in the book that when you talk about your Undisputed and Lion's Tail available at these different locations that you're dropping and stuff like that, are just little comedic it's a great read. When that book comes out, fans are gonna love it. The new Fozzy record, Do You Want to Start a War, drops July 22nd. Chris, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. It's been awesome, and definitely an honor for me. Grew up watching you on WCW and Raw. And
cool, man.
Yeah, it's fun to talk to you again. Talked to you at Uproar in Indy two years ago when we met up. It's great to talk to you again. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I hope we'll get a chance to come through your town again. Anytime, man. I appreciate it, Reggie. Thanks.